Hello again, everyone. Dave Benson here from CPPS with part 2 of our CPPS Hot Takes sessions on dealing with civil unrest and the possibility of demonstrations and certainly political motivated or other types of violence. Part 1, hopefully you got a chance to watch that, discussed more of an organizational response. Here in part 2, we're going to talk about more of an individual response, whether you're a student or you're a tourist or just a citizen, you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even if you are exercising your constitutional rights of free speech and things begin to get heated and start to boil over, what you can be thinking about or should be thinking about and doing to safely get through this situation. So first of all, as with many things, you have to be situationally aware. One of the things I like to talk about here at the center is talk about the what ifs. Is it likely that you'll be in the middle of or be in a planned demonstration or a circumstance like that where you're living or traveling or working? I live in downtown Orlando, Florida, for example, and planned demonstrations are the norm. And while the vast majority of them do not get out of control and cause problems, nonetheless, you have to be prepared and expect that likelihood, either if you're traveling in your car and either the streets have been blocked off, or from a pedestrian standpoint, you just can't get there or where you're trying to go. So understand your surroundings, be prepared, hopefully have a plan. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. You've heard me talk in the past about when you go to events, where there's large public events, whether it be a stadium, a sporting event, or a parade, or whatever. There's certain vulnerabilities that exist in that, and you need to try to counteract those. So, first of all, know your surroundings, situational awareness. Second of all, stay calm. Now, I always chuckle when I say "stay calm," and I teach this, and people will look at me and say, if I'm not expecting this. Myself or my family or my teammates, we're going to be terrified. So let's be clear. When I say stay calm, that means you've had some awareness training, you've thought about some of these things, and you're empowered to make some decisions on your own behalf. We're not just relying on the local authorities to assist us here, although it's always great when they can help us. So stay calm. Make sure you're still breathing, you're not hyperventilating, so your thinking brain is engaged and you can come up with potential alternatives to your situation. First and foremost, avoid confrontation. Now, I don't care if it's a contentious issue. We're currently going through that now in our country in response to what's happening over in the Middle East, depending on what side of that issue you may be on. Avoiding confrontation. Don't pick a fight. Don't take the bait. If you see confrontation starting to come, whether it be with counter-protesters or within your group or wherever you are in your area, and the police are beginning to respond, as I said in part 1, it's great that the police are here to assist us, and hopefully they have the appropriate plans and policies and procedures, but it can be an automatic escalation situation. Stay together if you're in a group. There is, in fact, safety in numbers. So if you're by yourself, you're going to have to make your own determination. You may or may not want to react like a lemming to what other people in the crowd or in the group are doing. You want to make your own decisions based upon, what information you can glean and form. But if it's a group, try your best to stay together. If that group gets separated, part of your plan should be discussing where you might reunify with them. I can tell you firsthand, dealt with many of these public events where there's hundreds and in some cases tens of thousands of people that either stampede or are fearful or confrontations are taking place. People get separated. So have a plan for that. Where are we going to reunify? Hopefully nowhere near the epicenter where you are doing that. But make sure there's a plan for that. Everybody has communication so people won't panic because you probably are going to get separated. And then have a plan to react. What are you prepared to do? What are you going to do? Think about some of this ahead of time, realizing that each situation is different. I covered for the Diplomatic Security Service with the U.S. State Department hundreds of planned demonstrations and, frankly, pop-up demonstrations in the District of Columbia, targeting foreign officials, and foreign embassies. But you have to be prepared. Have a plan on what to react and how you're going to react. Be prepared. Part of that is to move to safety. Is there a safe haven? Do you have an exit strategy? You never want to go into one of these situations where there's one way in and one way out. We've seen this with parades. We've seen this with sporting events. Just because you come in one access point doesn't mean you're going to be able to get out the same way. It's the same thing with demonstration activities or large crowds. So have a plan to react. If for some reason you are caught up in the demonstration or the assembly or whatever it might be, and things are starting to escalate and you're feeling uncomfortable, be careful, because you can very easily be pushed and shoved around by the very nature of the size of the crowd. You don't want to lose your feet if you can help it. And yes, you want to keep your belongings with you, but if you lose your belongings, you're much better off to keep going than to bend over in a situation like that, because you have a much higher likelihood of being pushed over, injured, and trampled, frankly. If you're in that flow, kind of like a salmon swimming upstream, the idea is to begin to move towards a location that's just on the outskirts of where the demonstration is. In other words, if you can get over there where it's more of a neutral zone, it may take you a while. You might have to keep going with the flow. But very much, as a native Floridian, it's part of the example of if you run into a rip current or rip tide. You can't try to force yourself to go one way or another. You need to go with the current until such time as that current begins to wane. Keep moving away from where the current is. And it's the same thing with a crowd. So you want to be able to do that. You'll ultimately be able to do that. If you're in a building, what do you do about that? Well, one of the things you may think about, hopefully the organization that you're working with, or whether it be a museum or a public place or a private place, there'll be some mechanisms in place. You may have to barricade or stay inside the location. Discretion may be the better part of valor in that type of situations. And certainly in my times as a regional security officer in some rather challenging places around the world where planned demonstrations would be in the quarter of millions, for example, like it was in Bangladesh, you have to be prepared for this and be able to ride out that storm. So you have to barricade. Hopefully you have communication. Let somebody know. If and when the police arrive, hopefully it's a well enough planned demonstration that they're already there and they're monitoring the situation, and they have contingency plans depending on if the situation begins to deteriorate. But if it does deteriorate and the police are getting involved and getting more aggressive, and you get, through no fault of your own, get caught up kind of in that tide, that is not the time to protest your feelings about law enforcement. That is not the time to scream at them and throw things at them. Cooperate with them until you get through that crisis. And then finally, throughout this whole process, maintain your situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings. Situational awareness, to recap, is where are potential dangers? Where are some potential safe havens? So by understanding that, particularly if you're planning to go in a location where you know there's demonstration activity, or if you are actually demonstrating, kind of understand the rules of the road with that, and avoid escalating and sticking yourself out in such a circumstance that is not going to end up well for you or your group. Personal response strategies. Not every planned demonstration is created equal, whether it's a fixed one on a college campus, or one in front of a federal courthouse, or one in a parade style type. Be prepared and have a plan for you and your team as you do that. I hope you found these two parts to be helpful. If there's any more questions you'd like to know about that, reach out to us at the center at info@cpps.com, and we'd be happy to discuss with you at any time. So stay safe out there. See you next time.